Heartbreaking, unexpected, scary, and sad are some of the words that millions of Americans would use to describe this recent pandemic.
Coronavirus cases in the United States continues to soar, topping 51,000 on Tuesday local time.
In just a few days, more Americans will have died from coronavirus over a span of roughly 9 weeks than died in the Vietnam War over a span of 12 years. And in the face of the economic calamity that's also hit our country, some states have begun implementing plans to reopen. But as you can see on your screen, the curve of confirmed new cases and new deaths is yet to show a consistent decline in this country. It's a plateau. More than 2,600 people died yesterday alone.
This pandemic is the worst we have seen in our lifetime. This pandemic has taken many things away from citizens around the country, but it has taken the biggest toll on college students. COVID-19 took students out of school by forcing colleges and universities to close down to fulfill the government's requirements of social distancing, and Morningside College was no exception.
State and local officials from New York to LA, Washington State to Maryland have already ordered restaurants and bars or other facilities like clubs and gyms to close. Dozens of states have already closed schools. The mayor of San Francisco just urged that residents effectively shelter in place starting at midnight, only to leave their house for essential needs.
Social distancing was seen throughout the country, where people had to stand 6 feet apart to avoid any contact from people all around and stay inside. Because of schools and businesses being forced to shut down, not only did this action leave college students to quit their face-to-face education, but it also left them to struggle to make a living, given that college students do have bills to pay and jobs they need to do to make a living. This includes work-study jobs and restaurant jobs such as serving and bartending.
My biggest struggle is I work at a golf course, so I bartend and serve, but obviously that's not an essential business, so I'm still allowed to go to work, but I don't have the same work at all. It's completely changed, like the environment there. We can't have anyone come inside the clubhouse, so I don't get to interact with any customers except for outside, and that really affects, because since I'm like a waitress and a bartender, I do rely on tips for my income.
I was laid off because of COVID. I'm a server, so because of that I am not able to serve or bartend anymore, so COVID has definitely taken away work from me.
My two jobs at the time were on-campus jobs. So I was a student ambassador, so I got paid to give tours and work in the office. And then I also lifeguarded at the pool, which they were small jobs, but they were still making some money. So when campus shut down, that was totally taken from me and I had no income. Yes. I think I was already I knew I was going to be struggling once I came back from spring break, because I paid my last rent and I knew I was already going to be struggling. But then with the pandemic, like I mentioned before, my only source of income was now gone. So it's been a struggle. I'm doing okay right now, but if I didn't have BioLife and I were to continue like this for a while, I would definitely be struggling.
I rely on my tips mostly, and they come from a group of regulars that come in, and I spend hours at the bar serving them and helping them get drunk, I guess, and serving them food and whatnot. And so when I don't have that opportunity, it really hit my tips a lot. So
it was definitely a worry for me because I have a car payment and a house payment coming up, so I was just worried financially if I was going to be able to make those payments, just because at the time I did not have a job and I wasn't sure initially how much I'd be receiving for unemployment.
it all happened. My golf course was shut down completely for 2 or 3 weeks, so I filed for unemployment, and I would just get not a ton the first couple of weeks after my weekly claim. But then we were able to open back up as long as people didn't come inside the clubhouse. So I am able to work, but I am still getting my unemployment.
For the most part, it's been a pretty simple process. I just file every Sunday. The only part I find a little difficult is if you ever try to call in, it's really hard to reach the workforce development just because their lines are so busy with everything going on right now. So that's what I found the most difficult, is just being able to reach their phones. I did receive the CARE Act, so that's been really nice. That helped out a lot. I just wish they would have implemented that sooner. That would have helped me out like a month ago. So the CARE Act is just basically an act that was passed through the government here in Iowa, and I know a couple states have done it as well. And just every week, if you file for unemployment and you are still unemployed, you get an extra $600, which has been very nice.
So I have not. I am a dependent on my parents, so that kind of screws me over. I can't really get anything from that, and like unemployment, I can't file for unemployment because of that. Same thing with the stimulus check. Like anything that anyone else might be getting, I'm not able to get, which I know a lot of college students are kind of in that same boat. So I have not gotten it.
I was not able to receive the $1,200 because I file independently for taxes, but my parents still claim me as a dependent. So I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that, and I think that's really unfair because I know a lot of college students are in that same situation, but a lot of college students are the people who need it most because we're working lower income paid jobs, but we still have car payments and rent and utilities and have to pay off school. So I feel like that was a big struggle for myself.
Probably it would be tied like with my work and my school, just like my daily schedule and my routine. Like, I just feel like I can't do anything anymore, and I don't like going out in public and like not going anywhere without a mask, and I don't know, just feel like it takes away a lot of freedom because you're just like cooped up inside.
I would say just like the end of my senior year, like, you know, graduation has been moved back, but all the events surrounding graduation, you know, like the night before dinner hanging with faculty and just like all the last end of year things that you do as a senior, like I don't get to do any of that now, and hopefully graduation will be taken away from me, but just the end of my senior year, and that really sucks. So
I think the biggest struggle for me is the schoolwork. It's really hard for me to stay on top of things and keep focused with everything that's going on. So I think balancing work and school and just keeping focused has been really difficult for me. I would get back the rest of this semester. I'm definitely not a fan of the online courses, and I miss the face-to-face interaction, and I would have loved to finish out my junior year as well as like my practicum in person rather than all online.
I mean, kind of like I said before, the end of my senior year, I would say like closure and stuff. Like if I could get something back, it would be like being able to go see my professors and like other students and have class one last time. Like I could get those like last, so to speak, back. Yeah, because I think that's probably the main thing for me that COVID has taken.
I probably am just gonna like start appreciating like our daily lives more and like the freedom that we have, and like appreciate like having one-on-one contact with professors and with your loved ones, and like just going freely, and you know, it's like we really are cooped up now, and it just makes you think that you took everything for granted before.
As we know, COVID-19 has been responsible for the deaths of many Americans, with the number of deaths rising at a fast pace every day, with that making more and more people afraid of their well-being. As we move forward in the hopes of returning to the norm, we are reminded that humans are not as strong as we appear. We must remember that college students are a small fraction of the people who have been impacted by this pandemic, and our lives have been changed too.